We're going to get started in about 1 minute. So thanks for everyone who has signed on. Okay, we're going to get started. So first off, thank you everybody for joining our webinar tonight. I'm excited to be back. For those of you who have been, to previous webinars, welcome back. And for those of you who are new, welcome to a Fair Meals webinar. So today is World Food Day. So we're going to be kind of speaking about everything that Fair Meals really focuses on, which is health, ease, and affordability. That is, those are the three pillars that all of our practice, all of our teachings fall under. And so I think it's very appropriate to speak about today when we focus on the World Food Day. So a little bit just about Fair Meals, myself, and our moderator today, Nicole Bannister. So Fair Meals is a free online platform offering families healthy, simple, and affordable meal solutions. We hope to empower families with the nutrition education, step-by-step recipes, and budget planning to make meals healthy, easy, and affordable. And our vision is to really help combat America's chronic disease crisis by making food, healthy food, an option for every family. There's such a connotation that healthy food is expensive and it's not affordable. But we're really here to debunk that and to help families realize that this is an option for every single family. So my name is Arielle Kestenbaum. I founded Fair Meals to offer nutritional guidance, easy recipes that empower families to eat well on a budget. I'm a registered dietitian and I have my master's of science in nutrition and dietetics from NYU. I am a mom to 3 little boys, as well as and I have a husband. So I really know how difficult it can be to provide healthy meals for my family that are also convenient and affordable, don't take a long time to make. And with this resource, I hope to help families from all walks of life. So Nicole, who's our moderator today, is an award-winning TV host, presenter, and international changemaker. Splitting her time across Los Angeles and South Africa, she's the host of the celebrity interview series Nikki Benz Live, as well as Started Up, the YouTube series showcasing one of the world's most prestigious social entrepreneurship competitions. She's a United Nations Alliance of Civilizations Fellow, a returned Peace Corps volunteer, and a Georgetown University Hoya. No matter where, no matter when, give Nikki Benz a microphone and watch her magic. So Nikki, thank you so much for being here tonight. I'm going to let you, kind of talk a little bit about, a little bit more about yourself, if there's anything that you want to add besides for this, very impressive bio. And we're so happy to have you tonight. So thank you for being here.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Thank you so much, Arielle, and to the entire team at Fair Meals for having me here today. I'm so excited to meet everyone who's in the audience and who's joining us here today on this very exciting and auspicious day, World Food Day. I really just feel like there is no better way to build community than through food. So on a day like today, how incredible, Arielle, that you've gathered such an incredible group of people to do exactly that. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. And thanks for being here. And also just, some words, if anybody has any questions, feel free to type it in the chat box. Nicole will be monitoring that as we proceed through the presentation. So definitely feel free to ask any questions that you guys have. Okay, so we're going to start. So World Food Day. So the importance of World Food Day and themes discussed. So what is World Food Day, right? It's a pretty, I think it's pretty straightforward, but it's also pretty vague. So it's an international day that celebrates the founding of the UN Food and Agriculture Organization. And this day brings attention to important topics like hunger and food insecurity. Hunger and food insecurity are very, very real problems. They happen, they're happening all over the world. It's a very, very big issue. It's an issue that it takes a lot of um, time to understand, and also a lot of time and effort to try to solve. Um, and it's a very, very unfortunate thing, but it's very real, and it happens a lot more than we really think. So it's a really important day to focus on this and to understand that these are real issues that are happening all over the world, and what can we do to kind of help this. So, world hunger and food insecurity. So, food insecurity refers to a lack of access to sufficient nutrient-dense foods due to geographic locations and/or income, usually both. So, nearly half of the global population is unable to afford a nutritious diet, which means they often have to settle for highly processed foods and nutrient deficient foods. So, it doesn't necessarily mean that people are not able to, like, that they're starving all the time. That's not really what food insecurity is. But there's a few different variables that kind of will determine whether or not somebody is food insecure. And usually people who, people of low income will go to, they'll if they're like, in a certain program, or they go to a specific Medicaid or Medicare type of clinic. They usually give them screenings that will help determine whether or not they're food insecure. So they'll either screen positive or negative for food insecurity. And through that, hopefully they will be able to go into some sort of programming, or get some sort of resources to help them. But food insecurity is usually people who don't know when they're getting their next meal, are usually running out of money before the end of the month to get nutritious food, and are really just cannot afford nutritious food for most of the month, and really have to uh, go to more processed foods, or live off like dollar menus and things of that sort of fast food restaurants. So it's a really big problem, and it's something that we really, really do hope to help solve around the world. So more than 800 million people across the globe are hungry, yet a third of all food is wasted. So this is a really big problem, right? If you look at this, we see that there's so many people that are hungry, but so much food is wasted. So what are things that we can do to kind of bridge this gap, right? There's a huge gap here. And Nicole, I'm very curious if you have anything to say on this, because I know that you're a big advocate for so many things, especially some of these global issues. And so it's a hard gap to bridge, but I think that there's a lot that we can do to think about what there is, that a lot that we can think of, what we can do.
Absolutely, Ariel.
Mm-hmm. So 1 in 9 people do not have enough nutritious food to lead a healthy lifestyle. So that's a pretty big percentage. And 60% of the world's hungriest people live in a conflict-affected region. So also that's more than 50% of the people that are considered hungry. So these are very, 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 very troubling percentages, I think. So what can we do? What can we do to help? So donating food and/or funds to organizations dedicated to ending world hunger. Every donation counts, and this is very, very true. On a micro level, shifting to a diet that supports the environment, eating less meat is one way to do this as well. But I really want to focus on that first paragraph, because of the second paragraph, I think is it's a huge shift in a lifestyle. But I think the first paragraph is something that everybody can really do in their own way, right? Even if it's not donating funds or providing funds to some of these organizations, it's providing, it's giving any sort of food that may be wasted, It's just donating that. And even, by the way, volunteering your time. If you don't even have the food to give, or, you know, if you're really good about not wasting food and you're unable to provide, you know, funds to some of these organizations, just going and volunteering. Some of these organizations are so short-staffed and they really need the volunteers. They need the people there to help them, you know, to really help them and, you know, give out the food and reach as many people as possible. This is also a really big way that we can help. So affordability. So this is, you know, this is a really important thing. So implement affordable practices that prioritize a nutritious diet. So before the cooking begins, so what are some things that we can do? So we can make a grocery list. So only buy what you need and make note of what you already have at home. It's really, really important. It may be take more time up front, but we call this an investment, a time investment. But it's really important to keep inventory of what you have at home. Some of us have these big cupboards and we don't even know what we have in the back. And really just keep at home, and really just knowing what we have at home. Same thing, if you keep some stuff in your freezer, really understanding what you have at home can be very, very helpful in helping us, you know, reduce waste. I actually started a new thing in my home recently, that I really don't keep extras at home. I really only buy, you know, when I'm making a recipe, I look to see in the beginning of the week what are the ingredients I need, and I buy it for that week. And that really helps. First of all, it helps keep me more organized, and I don't like have just a million things in my cupboard, but it really helps me save money. It really does, because I find I'm not just buying cans and cans and cans of, you know, tomato sauce or, you know, canned fruits and vegetables or whatever it is. I'm really only buying what I need. Compare prices. So shop at multiple locations to optimize your budget or choose the best options for your needs. So same thing. This may take, you know, a little bit more time up front. But in the end of the day, knowing where to go, the stores to shop, that where we're going to get the best deals for, you know, for produce and for meat and for, you know, every other types of food item, that can be very helpful in reducing waste as well. Eat before you go. So shopping, this may sound silly, but shopping while you're hungry can really lead you to buying more things, because you're like so hungry and you see, you know what, this looks so good right now. I want to get this. And we're all guilty of it. Even if we don't think we are all guilty of it. So many times I'll be like, this looks so good right now. And I'll bring it home and it's not touched. It's never touched. And I'm like, why did I buy this? And it's because you go when you're hungry and you think everything looks good at the time. And so really making sure that you're not hungry, have a snack before you go, bring some nuts to keep in your, you know, in your purse or in your pocket or whatever it is, just to make sure that you are not hungry. Only make one visit. So grocery shopping multiple times a week will likely cause you to spend more. And I am totally a victim of this. I've recently started to change this, and I really try to go once or twice a week at most. But you know, sometimes I don't get myself organized at the beginning of the week, and then I find that I'm buying groceries almost every day, and you end up really spending more. So putting some of that time up front and spending more time up front to really, you know, make a list of what you're going to make, and or, you know, making grocery lists and doing, you know, really doing your due diligence before going grocery shopping will really allow you to be efficient with both your time and your money.
Ariel, I love that you're giving us so
Sure.
many practical examples with everything that you're sharing. This is exactly the type of awareness that I feel like folks like me and everyone on this call needs, to make sure that when we are going into that grocery store, we are prepared, we have a plan, we know exactly what we're there for. And I just appreciate all of these firsthand examples.
Yes, 100%. And we're all guilty of it. Like every single one
Right.
of us, even me, you know, I do a lot of like like online ordering, like on you know, like Fresh Direct or, you know, Instacart or whatever it is. And I just find like that's made me so lazy, because I'm like, oh, it's just so easy. I can get it. But and then at the end of the month, you look at you look at how much you spent, and it's so much more than if you really are just organize yourself at the beginning of the week. So I'm just giving these tips because it's all proven to help us, be more efficient with, with our money. But it doesn't mean that I am not guilty of it as well. But it's really, really helpful. So those are some things that we can do beforehand. So now grocery shopping tips. So avoid overpriced pre-cut produce. So I think so many people go into the stores and it's like all cut for you and we know it's gonna, be great and in the fridge. Me too, by the way. And it's so easy and it's so nice and it's so convenient. But again, take, buy the whole fruit, buy the whole vegetable, and take some time in the beginning of the week and just have cut that all up ahead of time. And I'm not saying they have to stay in your fridge whole, but buy it whole, put some time out there, cut it and put it in your fridge. And I promise you, you will save a ton of money. I think we had a question come in. I don't know. I just saw my thing pop up.
Okay. I'm looking, I don't see anything in the chat.
It's in the Q&A, I think. There should be a Q&A.
Okay. Let's take a look. Okay, there's a question here. Should I read it out loud now?
Yeah, you can read it out loud.
Amazing. So there's a question here that says, do you have markets that you feel are better priced? I like that question. A market versus maybe a grocery store or shopping online.
I think that every city, every town has like their own, markets that are probably, like their go-tos and maybe are more affordable. But I would say like just looking at the United States in general, like I think Trader Joe's is a great place to go to because there really are, you can go out of there with 2 huge shopping bags and spend less than $100. And that's like pretty unheard of, especially I'm in New York City, especially in New York City. It's really, really expensive to grocery shop here. But going to Trader Joe's, you really feel like you get the most bang for your buck. So again, I'm sure every city, every town has their own markets that may be less expensive. But I would say just looking at the US as a whole, Trader Joe's is a really great place to start. For sure. But that's a good question. But definitely it's important, if you are first of all in a place that doesn't have a Trader Joe's nearby, I think it's important for us to do, for you to do that work ahead of time, right? Do your due diligence, as we said before. Try to find those markets that generally have the best deals on produce or generally have the best deals on meat or, meat and poultry or fish and just kind of shop around and try to see where are you going to get the best bang for your buck. And they may be some of these smaller stores. They may be some of these like, especially in New York City, there's some of these like smaller like fruit stores that are definitely more affordable than some of the bigger supermarkets. So I think it's really important to just know your area, know your neighborhood, know the stores, and know where you're going to get the best deals. And again, this may take some more time up front, but it's very doable. And once you know it once, then, it's usually pretty easy and you kind of just get into a routine. Use coupons or a loyalty card. So coupons, they used to send them in the mail. Now things are usually sent on email, sign ups, give your email address to, your local supermarket that you go to your local market. And a lot of times you will get coupons for cereal or produce or meat or whatever it is and use those. And again, you really, really can save money because a lot of times you'll be, buy one, get one free or buy 3, get 1 free or, 20% off, a certain size cereal or whatever it is. And you really, really end up saving money. So these are really good tips as well. And buy store brand products instead of, the fancy brands because it's usually the exact same thing and a lot cheaper than than the brands that we all know. And the store brand products are usually exactly the same. So buying in bulk. So this is a cost. So again, I'm talking from New York City, living in an apartment. So I don't always like to have, big boxes of food. But that being said, there are a few things that my family goes through pretty regularly and pretty quickly that just makes sense to buy in bulk. It's a cost-effective method when grocery shopping for larger families. So especially things like greens, right? Like quinoa and rice. certain nuts. These are things buying in bulk just makes sense because we go through it so often and you just really end up saving money. Smaller families can also benefit from buying in bulk, but by repurposing leftovers or freezing extras. And buy pantry goods like flour, spices, dried herbs, greens, nuts, and seeds, things that are just not going to go bad very quickly. These can also be very, very helpful. Also, if you do get these bigger bags, putting them into smaller bags and putting them in your cupboard can, help with space management and things of that sort. So there really are a lot of things that we can do, but buying in bulk will 100% help save money in the long run.
I have to say, Ariel, that buying in bulk has absolutely revolutionized my wallet, and particularly with spices. I go through so many spices, whether it's garlic or turmeric or bay leaves, even salt and pepper. I'll buy it in bulk, save it in some glass jars, and I'll just use that for months on end. And that has just completely
100%.
saved me so much money.
100%. We don't even realize it, but spices can get so expensive.
So
And just
expensive.
buying like a bit, so like it's crazy, and you go through them pretty like there are certain spices that people just use very often and they go through so quickly. Like for me, paprika, I don't know about, I guess I use it a lot.
Yes.
We just go through so much paprika, and I haven't even learned my lesson of buying that in bulk. I started buying like a little bit of a bigger container of it, but it's just something that like I should just learn that I need to buy in bulk because it's like I go through it so quickly. Going to these spice markets are a great way to buy it in bulk also. And they're very, very cheap. And they'll last you for a very long time. So really spices, herbs, these are dried herbs specifically, these are great things to have. So this or that. So choose dried over canned goods and choose frozen over fresh produce. So dried is, first of all, it's going to be better for us because there's not as much sodium. And it's actually usually cheaper and they're usually come in bigger bags, so they'll last a long time. And frozen over fresh produce. So again, not everything, but things like berries and, broccoli and cauliflower and just so many things. It's so much more affordable and we can generally use them in very similar ways. And, especially for soups and smoothies and roasting vegetables and making, compotes, let's say if you're making for oatmeal or for yogurt or something of that sort, it's pretty easy to use the fruit, to use frozen produce, and we should really utilize it because it's a lot less expensive and we get the same nutritious value that we get from fresh produce because it is frozen at peak ripeness. So it's very important for us to know that we're really not losing out on nutrients.
Ariel, we have another question that just popped up from Deborah, who's asking for oil specifically. Oil is generally really expensive. What would you recommend? What oil would you recommend for budgeting purposes?
So it's a very good question. I would definitely recommend for somebody who's like cooking a lot, I would definitely recommend whatever oil you're using. Like, for example, I'm using olive oil a lot and avocado oil a lot. Definitely that's something you want to buy in bulk. They make those like big canned like containers of oils. And sometimes these small ones, they're so expensive and you end up just buying them like so much. So instead buying that in bulk and then putting them into I bought these on Amazon, these little like nice little oil canisters. And I take from one of these big boxes and it lasts me a long time. It lasts me it lasts me probably 3 months, as opposed to like 2 weeks. And I find I'm just not spending as much. So, it's hard to say like one oil is better than another in terms of like affordability, just because we do want to make sure that we're getting like a healthier oil, and the avocado oil is definitely going to be like better than using a vegetable oil. Vegetable oil is probably cheaper, but we also have to keep in mind that we're trying to stay like nutritious, and we're trying to stay healthy and not just buy things because they're affordable, but also because they're healthy, because that's that's really the whole point of what we do. So we want to make sure that what's the best way we can do. We don't want to go to an oil that's less healthy, but maybe the oils that we use a lot, we can buy in bulk so that they can last us longer. But that's a good question. So proper storage. So storing fruits and vegetables correctly will extend their shelf life and reduce waste. So now they make all these different containers that really just help our produce stay for a lot longer. And they may, some of them don't work, but some of them really, really do. And it's worth again doing your due diligence and seeing what is going to work. There are also a lot of different hacks that you can find on the internet that will help keep, our strawberries fresh or our lettuce fresh or whatever it is. And definitely that can be very, very helpful in, keeping our produce to stay a bit longer. So wrapping leafy greens and fresh herbs in a paper towel and stick it in a Ziploc bag. This is very, very helpful. I do this all the time, and it really keeps the lettuce a lot longer than when you just put it directly into a bag. Also, when we do wash our lettuce, we do want to make sure, even before we wrap it in a paper towel, we want to make sure that it's dry before we wrap it in the paper towel. Store sliced fruits and vegetables in airtight containers and freeze any fruits or vegetables that you won't be able to eat in time, especially bananas, right? If we see bananas are starting to go bad, or really any sort of fruit or any, zucchini, these are all things that we can use in, banana breads or zucchini breads or, use again in smoothies or soups. They don't have to be for any of those types of things. They don't have to be so fresh. But if we see that we're not going to, eat it in time, definitely freezing it is going to be very helpful. So what are we going to use frozen fruits for? So protein smoothies, yogurt pops. These are really delicious. I think we have a recipe also on either our website or our Instagram. It's so easy. These look beautiful and they look like they're hard to make, but they're so easy. You really just need an ices mold. You're going to put some fruit, whatever fruit you want, some yogurt, put the popsicle stick in. And that's it. And they're such a great snack, and the kids love them. So if you have kids and you want a healthy snack for after school, before dinner, these are really, really, really great. Oops. And then chocolate covered fruit also is really, really great, right? We can get some dark chocolate, cut some of these frozen fruit, dip them in chocolate, freeze them again, and they're so delicious. Again, a really good snack. Kids love them. Great for after school. And frozen veggies. So I know it looks so good. I see your face, and
I know. I'm salivating.
I know it looks really good right now. So frozen veggies. So what can they be used? So veggie stir fry, right? Which I love. I love a good veggie stir fry with noodles, without noodles, with a good protein. So delicious, and there's no reason to use fresh produce for this. Frozen produce as frozen vegetables are perfect. Actually, I think they're even better. Garden veggie soup, right? For using it for vegetable soup, and veggie pasta, right? If we're going to make like one of these nutrient dense types of pastas. And by the way, even a pizza, right? If we're going to use some vegetables as toppings, using frozen veggies are going to be really, really great. And honestly, like I said, for this veggie stir fry, it might even be better. They might even just work better for these dishes. So now we're going to talk about repurposing leftovers. And I think there's like a love-hate relationship. And Nicole, you tell me your feeling on leftovers, because I definitely myself have a love-hate relationship with leftovers. And I think so many people do. And I think I don't know if it's because people get bored of it. I don't know if they just don't like it because it's not as fresh. There's certain foods that I love as leftovers, and there's certain foods I cannot look at as leftovers. So what are just some things that we can do to kind of make leftovers more exciting? So what's your feeling on leftovers? Because I like to ask this question to a lot of people, because I think, and anytime we discuss this topic, because I think so many people have their different views on leftovers.
Ariel, I'm so glad that you asked me that. I am obsessed with leftovers. I think that they're fantastic. I think food tastes better the next day. And I'm one of those people who typically for breakfast, like really enjoys a savory breakfast. So because of that, I'm oftentimes eating last night's dinner for today's breakfast. And that's very regular. I do that. I do that all the time. Like, I just think leftovers are so delicious, but it's hilarious because my partner feels the complete opposite way. He doesn't like leftovers. He doesn't want to eat them. If it doesn't go into the freezer immediately, he will never eat anything that's left over. So we kind of have like within our household, we have a love-hate relationship. But
Yes.
for me, I'm the love side.
Yes, I would say the same thing. My husband can eat leftovers for a week if I let him, and I usually don't like. But but then this is why I bring this up of repurposing leftovers, because sometimes if we're actually using that food and we're kind of utilizing in a different way, it almost doesn't feel like leftovers. So repurposing leftovers help us really, this is probably the number one thing that helps avoid food waste. And I think that kind of taking on this practice has definitely, for personally for myself, helped my own household avoid food waste. So it's also a way to get creative in the kitchen and try new recipes. And finally, repurposing leftovers really, really, really saves money. So it's really a win-win. So what are some things that we can do? So multiple meals with shredded chicken, right? So we can do, let's say we had some chicken, right? We can use some in the next day, make chicken quesadillas, right? You do some chicken and cheese in a quesadilla, and that's a delicious way to use that. We can put some in, into a chicken soup. And then also making a chicken salad, which is really one of my favorite ways of repurposing chicken, because I think chicken salad's delicious. You can use it in so many different ways. You can eat it plain, you can eat it with crackers, you can eat it as a sandwich. So there's so many easy ways that we can do this. And this is all using the same shredded chicken in 3 different ways and making 3 different, very, very different meals.
Ariel, I think I see a little bit of your paprika on top of that chicken salad recipe.
Yes, that is true. I definitely use paprika there. I probably use it on anything that that's appropriate to use paprika. But yeah, so this is definitely probably on these chicken quesadillas. I would also. So this is just a recipe. I don't have to go through it, but if you guys want to take a picture of it or whatever it is, it's very, very easy. You're basically putting everything into a tortilla, and you're going to toast it to make sure the cheese melts, putting veggies in, and it's really delicious, easy way to use this leftover chicken. So now we have something like ground beef. And again, you can use ground beef, ground chicken, you can even do tofu. So lettuce wraps. So lettuce wraps are delicious, right? You can use some ground beef, some beans, and put these into, any type of lettuce that will hold this, right? That won't wilt quickly from the sauce. And they are so, so delicious. What else can we do? We can do taco bowls, right? Using the same type of meat. Or we can use burgers. So this is 3 different completely different meals that we can use, using ground beef, I should say.
I love that these are the 3 examples, Ariel, because you're really showing us the versatility of the foods that we have in our everyday life. And we reflect on World Food Day. We're looking at lettuce wraps inspired by Asia. We're looking at taco bowls inspired by Central and South America, and we're looking at burgers, which can be homegrown, from the United States. So really cool to see how this really global cuisine can be celebrated on a day like World Food Day, and how we're actually eating so many different foods from so many different cultures on a regular or on a daily basis.
It's so true. It's a really good point that you brought up. And also just to say that like so many ingredients are so universal, which is amazing, right? Like this is ground beef, like, and we look at it as like, we think of burgers, which is like you said, so American. But then we use it in these taco bowls and then lettuce wraps, and we're really bringing in so many different cultures. And I think that's just like the beauty of food in general. And I think that's what people love about, going to restaurants, right? And just trying different cuisines from different countries and different, areas of the world. And just like seeing how they utilize ingredients. I think that's like a really beautiful thing. So besides for the hunger and the food insecurity, just seeing how certain ingredients that are used, in one way here or, in one's home, how are they used in different countries? And I think that's a really, really beautiful thing.
Absolutely.
So this is just the recipe for the lettuce wrap. So it's very, very easy. You can really do it your own way. And now beans. So I happen to love beans. Again, I think there's a love-hate relationships for some people with beans. But making a chili, it's a really, really great, easy way to use beans. A bean soup, right? A black bean soup, or using any sort of beans in a soup. And then a white bean salad. So again, really 3 very, very different recipes, but very, very easy ways to use them. The 3 bean chili is very, very comforting. homey type of food. The black bean soup also very, very similar in that comforting type of um, um, you know, uh, homey type of food. White bean salad's a little bit lighter. But again, we're utilizing beans. We're utilizing it in three very different ways. So this is a recipe for that 3-bean chili. If anybody wants to take a picture, again, this is just a recommendation, but there's so many ways that we can do this. Seasonal eating. So seasonal eating is something it's a very interesting topic, and I feel very strongly about it in one way, but then in some ways, and then in some ways I feel not as strongly about it because I think that it gets into people's heads and they really feel as though it's the only way to eat healthy. And then and eating seasonally can sometimes be a little bit more expensive. And so I don't like to put too much emphasis on it because I really don't want people to feel if they're not eating seasonally and they're not eating organically, then it's not nutritious and it's not healthy, and that's not true. So I really did want to bring it up just because I think it's an important thing to bring up, but I don't want people to get hung up on it and feel as though this is the only way to eat nutritiously. So seasonal eating is exactly what it sounds, eating according to seasons. This is unlike the grocery store where most fruits and vegetables are available all year, and there are many benefits to this approach of buying fresh produce. So sometimes they can be more affordable, like at farmers markets, for example. A lot of times people, contrary to popular belief, people think it's more expensive, and sometimes it is. Like especially in like a place like Whole Foods or those types of stores. But if you go to farmers markets, you usually can actually get more affordable produce, and a lot of the times they also will have deals of buy two get one free, those types of deals, because they really do want to make sure that all of the food gets sold. Because it's important for them A, to make the money, and B, they don't want to have to bring it back to their farms. So again, if you do your due diligence, if you go to the right places, you really actually can find foods that you can do seasonal eating in a more affordable way. Environmentally friendly, right? So eating seasonal produce reduces our carbon footprint because our food doesn't have to travel far to reach our plate. So it's just by eliminating that transport or that long transport, we are reducing our carbon footprint. Better flavor, right? And that's definitely something that's true. So fruits and vegetables that are in season they usually taste better. They're grown in optimal conditions. They know that they should be grown in optimal conditions, which is why they're considered seasonal. And they usually really just taste better. I think a question just came in. I believe something just popped up.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is referring to everything you've been sharing about seasonal eating. The question is it a good idea to stock up on produce and freeze or can it when it's more available seasonally? So taking those seasonal produce and stocking up on them while they are in season.
I definitely wouldn't can it. The canning process is actually something that can become very dangerous if it's not like done properly. So I don't advise people to can things on their own. But I do. I don't know necessarily that you need to stock up to freeze it. But especially if you live in countries where like really only things are season are really only done seasonally, and you don't usually get things from other countries. Um, in those types of situations, I would say then yes, you can, right? Some places really only get berries like once or twice, like once 1 month a year or 2 months a year. And people love to have berries, right? So freezing berries is so easy. So I would say that it really depends on where you live, how long a food is in season for, and how much space it's taking up. So I think it really depends. But I would say probably the best thing to do for that are like berries.
That makes so much sense to me, Ariel. I spend half of the year in South Africa, and there are certain produce that at certain times we just can't get, whether it's oranges or avocados. If they're not in season, they're just simply not in season across all of
Exactly.
the supermarkets. So we're just like, okay, I'll wait for 6 months until they happen to get back in stock.
Exactly. Exactly. And by the way, it's a lot of the world that's like that. And
Yeah,
we're almost used to it in the US where we really, for the most part, can get anything we want at any time. But most of the world is not like that. If oranges are not in season, you are not getting oranges. So,
right.
but usually produce tastes very, very good in those countries. So,
Very true.
it's definitely not all bad. So higher nutrient content. So nutritional value decreases over time. So seasonal produce is more nutrient dense because it's fresh and it's not highly processed. They don't really do anything to keep it fresh. And that is really everything. Here are some resources. Obviously, if anybody wants to make any donations to Fair Meals, this is our website, blogs and recipes we have, and then just learning a little bit more about World Food Day. You can go on the UN Food and Agricultural Organization's website. There's a lot of information about World Food Day, a lot of information about different organizations that you can get involved with, that can help. So thank you guys. Thanks everyone for coming. And that's it. And thank you, Nicole, for being here.
Oh my gosh, of course, Ariel. This has been so lovely. And it's so incredible to see the work that Fair Meals is doing to not only make sure that Americans and folks across the United States have access to these affordable and healthy and easy to make meals, but also really centering yourselves in the global food narrative. Having this webinar, raising awareness about World Food Day, raising awareness about food insecurity. These are critical things that we can do in the position of privilege that we have being in a place like the United States.
100%.
So thank you for sharing
100%.
all of this.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. And thank you everyone for coming. And I hope this has inspired people to go out and help in any way that they can.
Absolutely. Thank
All
you.
right. Have a good night.
Have a good night. I dropped all the social media handles in the Q&A.
Amazing. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
All right. Thank you so much. That was great.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Ariel, you're
Thank
fantastic.
you. Thank you. And thanks for being here and good luck with everything.
Oh my gosh, of course. You have a friend in me, and I'll continue to share all the work that you're doing with Fair Meals.
Amazing.
I meant what I said. I mean, I think having conversations like this are so important. And once you post this on YouTube, I'll share it on there as well and add it to my
Amazing.
personal page. So yeah, keep
Thank
up the
you.
amazing work.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And